All right, hello everyone. Welcome to Resume Thursdays. We're glad everybody is with us. Let me run through a few things for everybody who's on the Zoom feed right now. There's a mute button at the bottom of your screen, so you can mute and unmute your phone, unmute your audio. Right now, everybody should be on mute. If you'd like to see the participant list and see who else is online, you can click right here. What will happen is will pop a list of everybody who's currently online. Please note that at the bottom of that, there's a couple different things. You can raise your hand if you have a question. There's a yes or no. If Carol asks a question and would like to survey the group, you can click right here on yes and no, and we'll be able to see all those answers. If your name happens to say Jeff's iPhone and you'd like to change it to your full name, please take your cursor, hover over the More button, and then it will bring up something that says rename, and you can rename yourself. And this way, it'll be easier for everybody else online to see who else is online, and for us to be able to see who's online also. There is a chat window by clicking on the little chat screen at the very, very bottom, and you'll be able to text things in here. And this is where you do it. Make sure your message is going to everybody. You type your message in right down here at the very, very bottom. Today, we will be using a feature where you can upload your resume for us to review online. And right next to these little three dots over here in the lower right-hand corner, it'll say chat. It'll say file upload, where you can upload a file. You click on that and you can upload your file, but we'll talk about that a little bit later when we're ready. At the very, very top, you've got view options. So when there's a couple different ways for you to view the screen and to see everything that's going on. Just click up here and you'll be able to see the different options that are happening. Please note this event will be recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording may be on Facebook and YouTube for others to view in the future by participating in this event. And if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear. All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I came up with CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. Since 2007, I've been leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been meeting since around 2000, and I took it over in 2007 and led it for the last 13 years. So our speaker today is Carol Brickell. She's a certified professional career coach specializing in job search strategies, resume optimization, and interviewing skills. Carol, I'll let you take it away.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeff. If you can hear me.
You're good.
Okay, excellent. And if you could, I think I can share my screen. Yeah, it'll just interrupt your sharing. Okay, which I think that'll be okay. Good. And welcome to everyone. It looks like we have 38 people so far, which is great. And this is our first of weekly sessions about resumes, and every week it'll be different. So I work based on the energy and the needs of the audience. And I see that 2 people have already submitted resumes to be downloaded. So I'm going to do a quick download on another resume. We'll talk about that. Great. Good. So I'll be looking at the camera some of the times, and sometimes I'll be looking at chat. And so if you see my eyes going back and forth, that's why. And as Jeff mentioned, in using Zoom, you've got several features, the chat feature and also the participants box, which we will be using. So if everybody could click on the participant box and click on yes, if you can hear my voice and see my screen. Excellent. I'm seeing lots of green check marks out there. Good. And those in FaceTime, Facebook Live don't have that option, so that's fine. That's fine. And then also, I'd like you to click on the chat function so you have that option available, because that's where you can submit questions to me. And I see a couple more people have already submitted sample resumes. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So thank you for that. So we will be using the chat box, and there'll be times when I will be asking questions and you can write your responses in chat. And we'll start with one particular question, my favorite question right now. If you're to give your resume to 5 different people, how many opinions do you think you'd get back in return? Everybody go into chat and type in a number. My heat must be shiny, it's reflecting the background. Yep, I'm saying if you give it out to 5 different people, you'll often get 5 different opinions back. Some people are even saying 10 responses. 12 and 8 option. Okay, very good. Thank you. And that is very true. When you do have your resume reviewed by different people, you might get different perspectives based on the person's background. And so your job as a job seeker or somebody who's seeking input is to take all that feedback and then apply what's really most relevant for you. And then by way of background, so that you know the perspective that I'm bringing, I'm coming in from a perspective of somebody who's been a hiring manager for over 30 years. I worked for EDS that was acquired by Hewlett Packard for over 30 years and retired in 2012 to work as a recruiter. So I could really learn the nuts and bolts of hiring and interviewing. So I could eventually retire like I am now, so I could be a career coach and help others. And I've worked in both agency and corporate settings, and I've placed candidates in a variety of roles, including IT, accounting, HR, and learning and development. I've worked in a variety of industries, and I volunteer with the Dallas Pit Crew every week. And we are still doing the Pit Crew practice interview team group every week and doing mock interviews. We do it in a virtual style. And I am certified through the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. Took the 70-question essay exam for that. And this is our agenda for the session today. It's split into 2 sections. In the first part, I'll offer an opening discussion question. I'll do that in a moment to solicit from you. What are the biggest questions you have about resumes? Or what topics would you like to make sure we cover today? And then we'll talk about applicant tracking systems. And I do have some key guidance regarding resumes that I like to share. And then in the second part of our session today, we will review some resume samples. And I've already received some samples. And if those of you that have already sent your samples are okay with me sharing them as is, I will. Maybe let me know if it's okay to share with your name. Because the other option is you could go into your resume and change the name to Mickey Mouse or Leonardo DiCaprio or something, something different if you want to be anonymous, and change the company names if you'd like. And so I'm getting some people responding that it's okay to share. So I want to give you that option if you want to keep it confidential and give yourself your favorite movie star name. And everybody's okay to share. This is a safe learning environment. And when we do share resumes, we're going to be learning from each other. And we may even see some examples that we like that we may want to replicate. So this should be a good learning process. Okay. And we'll do that for the second part. So again, seeking volunteers to share the resume. I think we've got enough. I've got, I think 4. I have plenty. And I probably won't be able to get through all of them. I'll go through on a first come, first served basis. We might get through 2 or 3. And I think I've received 6 or 7. So you all are high achievers, and I do appreciate that. And if I don't have the opportunity to share your resume in this session today, because we will be wrapping up by 2:50, I think that is, Jeff, 2:45, 2:50. We do need to wrap up. If I don't share your resume today, you're welcome to follow up with me individually. We can do an individual session if you'd like.
Carol, just a quick question.
Yes.
How did the participants submit their resumes to you?
Oh, through the chat function.
Oh, it was through the chat. Okay, because I
Box and click on the file icon down there by those 3 dots. You can upload it. And as of right now, we have more than we can cover in today's session.
And so we'll be able to, you know, if we don't get to yours this week, if you want, we'll be able to do it again next week. Carol said she'd look at them offline. So don't forget that we'll be back again next week and the week after and the week after that.
Oh.
So we'll get to yours.
Okay.
Well, there will be multiple opportunities, or if it's time, if you need feedback within the next few days, if it's time critical, you can reach out to me one-on-one.
Okay, thanks, Carol. Thanks, Jeff.
Excellent. And if you have questions also, you're welcome to use the chat function, and I'm continually monitoring the chat function. Now, once again, using chat, I'd like for you to go in and type in some keywords regarding the toughest questions you have about resumes, or the biggest concern, or a topic that you'd like for us to cover today. And if we don't have time to cover everything today, we will get to it next week as well. So I'll pause a moment while people go into chat and type in their comments. And also, by the way, I have a way of copying the text in chat. So Jeff, I will be saving this so that we can keep it for next week, and I'll share a copy with you to make sure we're keeping track of everybody's desired topics.
I also have a complete copy when we get done. It saves the whole, it also saves the whole thing. So I'll have a complete copy.
Oh yes, excellent. Okay, great. I'm already starting to get a lot of good comments. And since we have 44 people now, I may not even have time to read off all of the comments. Somebody asked about formatting. We will definitely talk about that today. How many years to include? We'll talk about that. Getting through the ATS system? Yes, definitely. What are the 3 key things to get a CV noticed? Make sure it aligns to the job. Sorry, my hands are reflecting the background. I guess I do need to invest in a green screen, don't I? Okay. Let's see, general format, do's and don'ts. How to handle jobs where you were terminated. I would keep it on the resume, especially if you were there for more than a month or so. And there's a whole science to handling questions about reasons for leaving. That might be a topic that Mark covers in his Wednesday interview class. And I will also be conducting some interview classes on that. And there's a whole science around that. And if you need immediate help with that, you're welcome to reach out to me for help with that. And Mark McDonald is also a great expert. Hope you don't mind me mentioning your name, Mark, but you are known in the Dallas-Fort Worth area as being an expert.
Yes, I'm available.
Did Mark say he's available?
Yeah, I'm available. You can just reach me on the Pit Crew email, dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. I'll put it in the comments.
Thank you. Yeah, Mark does an excellent job coaching people on that very topic. Number of pages, we'll talk about that. What I did at my previous positions, we'll talk about that. Tailor your resume from 15 years of academic, regular to industry. That might be more of a coaching conversation about tailoring your resume for job transitions. There's a whole lot of thought that goes into that. And so if you need help, you're welcome to reach out to me. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's a better document format or PDF. When you work with agency recruiters, it's better to use Word documents because they'll be putting their letterhead on it. Otherwise, if you want to kind of protect the integrity of your document, putting it in a PDF is a good idea. Somebody's talking about formatting and boxes and bullets. We'll definitely talk about that. Customize your resume for roles. You definitely want to customize it for the jobs you're applying for those keywords. And we will definitely talk about that. And resumes for behavioral interviews. Your resume should be strong, and we'll talk about the guidelines for resumes. Behavioral interviews is a great topic, and the weekly sessions that Jeff is hosting that Mark and Walt are running on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock, really talk about interviewing skills and get a chance to practice through the pit crew. Okay. Are doc bullets okay? Yes, those little round standard bullets are okay with ATS systems. I did some research on that.
I really like the question that says how to handle a gap taking care of my in-laws as they age and have a part-time job not relevant to my career. That's a very interesting, a good topic to talk about.
Yes, thank you for catching that one. I missed that one. My career. So if you do have a gap on your resume, I do recommend putting something on your resume. And if you've done, like during that time, maybe if you did some volunteer work and other work, maybe have a general heading like community service or something, and then list bullet points about what you did. And you may have, say, part-time job, volunteer work, or several things, but it's good to keep that on your resume if you can, put something there. And sometimes people, I think good recruiters and hiring managers understand it. If you do have a part-time job that isn't relevant to your career, but it's there during a time, you can explain that. So that again may be a conversation depending on what it is. So I recommend trying to put something there if you can. So those are all great topics. And it sounds like the planned remarks I have planned are going to address most of these. And some people may have seen my presentation a week ago Friday, and so some of the topics will be a refresher of that information. And it does go along with the questions that we've gotten today. And several people did ask about ATS systems, applicant tracking systems. If you happen to know a name of an ATS system, go ahead and type it in the chat box if you happen to know any names of systems out there. And then somebody said, how long of a gap without an explanation is acceptable? I think the sweet spot's about 3 months. That's off the top of my head. Okay. And somebody's looking to transition their career. And that's a whole coaching conversation. So if you'd like to talk through that, that's a big conversation. And I spend a lot of time with people on that. And regarding applicant tracking systems, and one example is iCIMS, another is Taleo, and Workday has an ATS component. The way those systems work is they read the data in your resume, and they parse the data and pull it out and put it in the different fields in their system, name, address, various jobs. And so therefore, if you have a lot of special characters in your resume, boxes, fancy, even the fancy bullets, the little diamond signs, that can throw off the parsing process. And so therefore we recommend when you're uploading a resume into an ATS system that it be clean from any special formatting, including underlines, including headers and footers. What you do want to do is make sure that your resume has keywords that align to the job that you're applying to, and we'll show some illustrations of how that works. And a great tool that you can use to compare your resume to a job that you're applying to is use jobscan.co, C-O, that's correct, there to review your resume in relation to a job description. And often ATS systems allow you to also upload your resume as an attachment. And in that version, if you want, you could include your special formatting. I made the personal choice of just keeping a clean resume, not having to worry about updating 2 different versions. But some people choose to have 2 different versions. It's a personal choice. Also, ATS systems sometimes require or give you the option of having a cover letter. Now, as a corporate recruiter, when I'd go through all the resumes in the ATS system, I didn't have time to look at the cover letters, but some do require that you submit one. And therefore, you just want to create a nice, good, clean cover letter that explains how you meet the requirements for the job. Now we'll start talking about formatting and good characteristics of good resumes. And really the overall goal is to make it easy for the ATS systems and the screeners, whether those are recruiters or hiring managers, to determine you are a good match for the job So you'll get a phone call, a call for an interview. That's the ultimate goal. And so therefore, you want the formatting to be clean and easy for a recruiter and a hiring manager to assess within 5 to 10 seconds that you are a great match. And in terms of overall length, and some of you may have done this exercise with me, go into chat if you have a favorite length for resumes. So what is a number of pages that you'd recommend for an optimum length for resumes? Okay. So most of the answers are two, and that's the good sweet spot. I have seen some who've had a shorter career be able to fit things easily on one page. And I've seen some go to 3 pages, especially if somebody has extra publications, certifications, or extra technical skills. But 2 pages, I know as a hiring manager, if I got a resume that was 5 pages long, that becomes cumbersome. So think of the audience. Okay, great. And then number of years, how many years to show on your resume? There are 3 different options. Option number 1, which is what I did when I applied for a job at the age of 60. I showed everything since 1980. I showed all 38 years, at the time it was 38 years of experience in one resume, but I was networking with people that knew me pretty well. That's one option. The other option is to chop it off after 10 to 15 years. And as a recruiter, when I would get resumes like that and meet with the candidate and realize they had more experience, it would kind of add confusion, because when I would ask them a question and they'd use an example with something that wasn't on their resume, it would cause confusion. So a third option is to go ahead and put a significant amount of detail for your most recent 10 to 15 years. And then if you have more experience than that, have a new heading that says previous relevant experience, and list the company names and the titles that you had for companies that are relevant to the job that you're applying to. You don't have to put the dates if you don't want to. It's just previous relevant experience. That way, if you're in an interview and somebody asks you a question, you want to use an example from one of those companies, it won't cause confusion. So there are different options you can think of to do that. And I found a lot of people are gravitating towards, especially a lot of people with 20, 25, 30 plus years of experience are gravitating towards that third option of showing quite a bit of detail for the last 10, 15 years, and then prior relevant experience, listing the company and names and their titles. And somebody said they've always heard 10 years. Yeah, you heard the pros and cons of chopping it off at 10 years versus, you could also leave that extra section for previous relevant experience.
Carol,
I'll also share with you guidance from the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. And if you have any questions at this time, you're welcome to submit them in chat, and I'm monitoring those as well. And the guidance from this organization is that you need to make sure your resume is clean and easy to read and free from spelling, punctuation, and grammar errors. You would believe a majority of the resumes I review have some sort of grammatical error, especially, and sometimes spelling and punctuation. And it's always a best practice to spell out acronyms the first time you use them, put them in parentheses, and then you can use the acronym after that. And it should include skills that are related to the job that you're targeting, include qualitative and quantitative accomplishments. I'll show some examples about that. And for the version that you're uploading into the ATS system, no special graphics or pictures or underlines, because that can throw off the parsing process of collecting the data from your resume. And now several people asked about formatting. So we will talk about key components of a resume and how to format it. And it's real interesting. Over the last 15 years or so, I have listened to feedback from hiring managers from when I've presented resumes to them regarding what they look for in terms of the format. Do they want a functional resume or chronological? And most hiring managers and recruiters like to see the chronological view of somebody's career, because that way you can see the progression, you can see the longevity in various jobs, you can see if there are any gaps. And so most people do want to see a chronological view. And I developed this sort of format over the last few years. And as I went through my certification, it was kind of a format that I would use as a template as I was working with people. And when I went through my certification, the format they taught was nearly identical to the one I'd been using. And then also in the career transition workshop that is taught quarterly in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, they have a format in there that's also very similar to what I'm using. And Jeff, is there anything you'd want to say right now about the career transition workshop and what's happening with that, as things are going virtual?
Yes, CTW, we're currently working on going online. We're shooting for, let's see here, May 12th, starting May 12th, every Tuesday, we will be presenting a different module. So over the 6 or 8 weeks, we will present all the modules that we normally do, and we'll cover everything. So we're still working on it right now. We're having meetings on a weekly basis, trying to get all the details worked out.
Great, yeah, so it's evolving to a virtual delivery on Tuesdays. So you'll see their recommended formats. So we will follow this standard format. It's tried and true, and it's what hiring managers are used to seeing. And I see a couple of questions. Okay, for government resumes, you have to include everything. And somebody asked a good question. When checking, let's say 100 resumes, and that's an accurate estimate, sometimes when you open up a new job opening and open it up, usually there are a minimum of 100 resumes, usually 200 or so. How much time does a recruiter spend before trashing? Usually what the ATS system does is first sort those resumes based on keyword searches. So a recruiter may go through the top 10 or 20% until their phone rings and they start getting busy. And so they don't have much time. They probably spend about 10 seconds. They double check they might go to the bottom to double check the degree, look through the top, look at the key skills, the summary, look at the most recent jobs, look really quickly at the progression and gaps, but about all that's done in about 10 seconds.
Are you looking at the information that the system puts in and parses into each of the different fields, or are you looking at the actual submitted resume?
I usually, what I did as a corporate recruiter and also an agency recruiter, I click on the actual resume so I can see it cleanly. Yes. Didn't always trust that parsing process, putting data in the right place. So now we'll go into the formatting of a resume. And we do have a template. And I think Jeff has a way of getting that out to people, I think. Yeah, I think so. And in terms of the heading, you want it to be clean with your name, address, phone number. You don't need your physical address. Definitely include your email and your LinkedIn ID is a good idea. Summary profile. Many people have heard this is my favorite part of the resume because this is the part that you can customize based on your experience as it applies to the job that you're applying to. And the summary section is really a profile of who you are as a professional. It's not an objective, like you're seeking an opportunity to grow with a company and learn new skills. It's a profile of what you bring and with areas of expertise. And somebody asked, should you include your zip code on your resume? When I've talked with recruiters, I've heard 2 different opinions, so you can decide. I've heard some recruiters say they like you to include the zip code because sometimes they search for that. Other recruiters say it might limit you, so just put Dallas-Fort Worth or something. So I think it's okay as long as you don't feel like it limits you. So hopefully that's a good answer. Thanks for asking that question. Okay, I'm going to move along here so we can get to the summary resumes. And again, under the professional experience part of your resume, the chronological format is preferred with the dates right justified. You may not be able to see them on the screen if you have the little video icons on the screen, but the dates are out there right, justified. And be careful about your verbs. With any job where you're currently working, make sure they're all consistent in the present tense. Past jobs are in the past tense. And recommend limiting the number of bullets per job. I've seen resumes with 20, 22 bullets, and a hiring manager is not going to read all those. So try to pick out the top 3 to 5 to 8, or probably 5 to 8 bullets. And they should focus on results and not just read like a job description. And somebody's asking about months and years or just years. I think that depends. If you've been at several companies for a long time, I think years is okay. Most ATS systems will ask you for months and years. So if it's shorter amounts of time, it might be good to include the months. And whatever you choose, I'd recommend being consistent throughout your resume. And if anybody else has any thoughts about that, you're welcome to chime in. And somebody wrote, not long lines, which I think either you mean long lines in terms of formatting the resume, and that's correct. You shouldn't, because that could be a special character. Okay. And then also, I was wondering if you might have meant long bullet points, because I've seen bullet points under the jobs go on for 4 or 5 lines, and those are too long. Yeah, the bullet should be 1 or 2 lines. I'll walk through a quick example about the bullet points and trying to focus on results. One time I was coaching a client and they had a bullet point under a job. It was pretty good. It said he developed a Visual Basic program to automate the conversion and migration of data. That's pretty good. But I said, so what? What was the result? What was the output? What was the impact to the business? Kind of a funny way to ask it, but it really gets you to an answer. So I said, so what? Well, he said, this resulted in reducing the migration time, and reducing errors, and increased the stakeholder confidence. So what he did was he updated his bullet to really focus on the result and started the bullet with that verb, that he reduced the data migration time, eliminated errors, increased the stakeholder confidence by developing that Visual Basic program. So that's an example of how you can kind of go through your resume, look at each bullet, and if you can answer the question, so what, and get a result, you may want to reword or reorder the way you've worded your bullet point. Somebody asked the question, how to show multiple roles in a company. Were you reading my mind? Thank you for that. This is how you show multiple roles in a company. We are on the same page today. So there are many times when I've seen resumes where people may have had 3 different roles at a company, and they put the dates for those roles outright justified. It looked like they had 3 different jobs. The way you should show it is the full length of time. In this example, it's 2004 through 2012 with that one company, but they had 3 different jobs, and then in parentheses, they showed the length of time for each of those jobs. So at a glance, the recruiter and hiring manager can see, wow, that person was at that company a long time, and it looks like they were promoted several times. So it makes your resume stronger. And then, of course, list your education and software skills. I'll show this slide real quickly. And this is—
Can you go back one slide?
Sure.
Is it really important to tell people you have Microsoft Office skills? Because if you don't, I mean, everybody should have those skills, shouldn't they?
A lot of job descriptions do require it. So a lot of people still do list that. And in accounting jobs, some people will say Excel, including pivot tables and VLOOKUP. I think it's okay. It does seem kind of dumb, like everyone needs to have it. But since the job descriptions often require it, it's good to match it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so if it's on the job description, be sure to list it. If it's not on the job description, it's something you could maybe leave off.
Right. Good question. What points size? I think font size maybe is on the template that I use, it's Calibri 11. I find when people use 10, like Times New Roman 10, it's small. Oh, year on education. No year on education. Yeah, I didn't put years on education in mine. And I don't think you have to. Okay, I think I answered those questions. Okay, this is very important. People ask me all the time, do I need to update my resume every time I apply for a job? At a minimum, you need to update the summary and areas of expertise, the key skill areas, and the bullet points where possible. And how to do that, what you need to do is study the job description itself. And this is an example for a business analyst. And look for keywords like documenting business requirements, improving processes. Agile is important. And they're looking for Visual Studio. You know, look through the job description and look for the keywords that they're looking for. I think I have to get out of annotate. There we go. And then in the resume, make sure that you are using those keywords like business requirements is in here, improving processes, Agile is listed under areas of expertise, and Visual Basic is under software skills. So spend some time studying that job description and align, especially your profile part and where possible, the bullets as well, to align with that job description. I need to erase. There we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, so a quick chat question for our audience. What is the overall goal of a resume? What do you think the goal is? Why do you create
an interview?
And we can go into chat and just type in a keyword. And I'm already seeing some responses coming in. So what do you think is the overall goal? So far, all of the answers are about the same. Okay, majority of answers are to get that interview, display value, to sell yourself, value add, tell them who you are, show your qualifications. Yes, you want to make your resume, you want to make it easy for that recruiter and hiring manager to see that you're a match for the job so that they pick up the phone or send you an email to invite you for an interview. Are there any visual tricks you can use to differentiate yourself from the template to stand out? And there are lots of creative things you can do. As a recruiter, I'm just pretty practical. I look for the skills. If it's a marketing and design type of role, I like to see the design. But if it's a business analyst role, I want to see, have they gathered business requirements? Have they used Visual Basic? I just look for the text. So that's a personal choice. Now, if you do have a version with all those visual enhancements, you'll have to create an ATS version as well. So you'd have to keep track of two different versions. And when you go to an interview, is it still proper to bring paper versions of your resume? Absolutely, because hiring managers are often running from meeting to meeting and they forget to print off. Yeah, so it's a very good courtesy to bring one for every person that you know you're going to be meeting with, plus a couple of extras. That's if you have face-to-face interviews. Most of them are done over video now. So you'll want to stay for the 3 o'clock session about video interviewing. Okay, now at this point, I'd like to review a couple sample resumes. And the first one that's submitted to me with the last initial P, I hope it's okay if I share your resume with your name. If not, send me a chat, initial RP. Okay, hope it's okay to share it. Okay. And then the next one is K, last initial K. Initials BK will be the two that I probably have time to share. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my slide for a moment and share these two resumes that I downloaded. Oops, now you can see it. Wait, no, you can't. And Jeff, are you able to see? Oops. Screen sharing closed. Sorry about that. That's real time here. Try that again. Share. Okay. Can you see the resume? Thank you for nodding. Okay, great. And thank you for sharing your sample resume. What I'll do is do a quick, I'll scroll down on it quickly. And I'd like for people to kind of look at it and in the chat, based on things we've talked about, say things that you like about it. And if you see any suggestions for improvement, then feel free to put those into chat. So both positive and constructive ideas. So we start off with contact information, the name at the top, a summary, computer skills, and then major accomplishments. Excuse me, as I'm scrolling. Okay, and several jobs here. Okay. On the third page. Okay. Good. Lots of great information here. And I like how cleanly laid out it is at the top. Okay. All right. And I'm seeing some comments. And somebody asked about the check marks. That could, for the ATS version of a resume, that could throw off the parsing. So you may want to use clear bullet points for the ATS version. Good.
Are all these symbols that we're seeing, oops, yeah, are all these symbols that we're seeing, are these because your comment feature's on? Is that why we're seeing the little P's at the end?
Yeah, I have the, let me see if I can turn that off. Yeah.
There we go.
Editing.
Thank you.
I can get that thing to go away, but okay.
Thank you.
All right. And then one comment is the summary is long, and in the template that we recommend, it's good to have a summary statement that's 3 or 4 lines with areas of expertise with bullet points so that those key skills really jump out at the reviewer, because it would take a little more time for a recruiter or a hiring manager to pull out those key skills based on reading all these comments here. Okay. Okay. All right, good. And then computer skills. And with technical roles, I think sometimes it's okay to have the computer software skills at the top of the resume. Most of the time they're at the bottom of the resume, so it kind of depends on the job that you're searching for and the importance of that. Under major accomplishments, this could actually be the professional experience section. You could call it that.
Here's a great example for everybody why you probably want to submit a PDF version versus a Word document. Because as you see here, because Carol's computer system recognizes margins different than what your margins are, when you don't give a good 1-inch margin around a resume, you see that it's pulled up Christus Healthcare on the bottom of the first page, where actually that information should go to the next page. So by submitting a PDF version of your resume, it will look exactly like you want it to look.
Great, excellent. That is a great tip. And somebody complimented you, Jeff, on that tip. That's a great tip. Good. Okay. And the next job, I see August 16th and then May 21st. Oh, okay. I see. So it looks like he was at
Is that Pfizer from 2011
from May 2011 to
2019?
2019, but had several roles. So to avoid confusion, I would not put the August to September out here. I would put it in parentheses after the database administrator, move that over to the left. Yes, and do the same thing with the support specialist, put that in parentheses. Yes, okay.
I don't see a lot of results. I see what you did, but I don't see the results. And that's why somebody's going to call you if there's results. Every bullet point has to have a result. Every bullet point has to have a star story. So if I was going to ask you about, well, tell me about providing documentation communication for event notifications, you're not, you know, why, who, what, when, where, why, what was the result of that? How did you save the company something?
Excellent. So you can go through those bullet points. You provided documentation and communication. So what? What was the impact? What was the business? And the bullets, I'd recommend them be 1 or 2 lines, 3 lines at the most, because hiring managers would probably not read that level of detail. And somebody had suggested that too, to shorten the bullet points. Okay. Data analyst contractor, okay. And it's okay to list contractor there, or you can explain it when you're talking to the recruiter when they ask your reason for leaving and say it was a contract assignment. And usually that helps explain why it might be a short-term assignment. For a long-term role like this, August 2006 to March 2010, I might just leave it off, contractor, because that's a long time. And I would put a space before the education section. Okay. Good. Yes, and somebody added the point to add quantify dollars, time, and quality in the bullet points as well. And more white space for readability. Good, good. So thank you so much for sharing this resume for us to apply what we've kind of been talking about and looking at a real example. And I believe, Jeff, that we are getting close on time because we do have another session that will be starting up. And so therefore, those of you, and I appreciate the number of people that have volunteered their resumes. We haven't had time to go through all of them today. If you'd like to follow up with me, if it's time sensitive, I can help you out over the next few days, or if you want to wait till next week and submit a note to Jeff saying, I want to be first on the list, we can do that, and I can shorten my beginning section a little bit. And do I have time to ask a question, Jeff, or are we out of time?
Yeah, we pretty much need to wrap up. I need to just say a couple of quick things, and we want to be done, because I want to be done for the next session that's about to start, because I think it'll be very interesting for a lot of people to participate in. So Carol, thank you very much for today. Next week, I think we'll try to maybe do a few more resumes, and I think that was very valuable. And I'm sure next week everybody will learn to submit a PDF version instead of a Word document, because you see just a huge change in what's going on. All right, let me see here. I got a couple slides. If I get my mouse to get over here. If you'd like to, join us tomorrow morning at 9:30, the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Our topic is going to be body language. Ruth Lipsky will be with us to talk about body language, and now especially what's your body language when you're doing something online like we're doing. So we'll be talking about specifically some things about that. So if you'd like, join us tomorrow morning at 9:30. Today at 3 o'clock, right after this, coming up in 10 minutes, Walt Glass will be presenting a presentation with Career Care, which is the St. Andrews Career Care that meets on Monday nights. They'll be talking, Walt will be talking about video interviewing. So it will be on Facebook, and it'll be available for anybody who wants to see coming up at 3 o'clock. Just check the Career DFW calendar, and you'll be able to find the log information on how to get in on that Zoom call. It is a different Zoom login though. Please join us every Tuesday. We'll be talking about LinkedIn next Tuesday. we'll have a presentation Tuesday. Interviewing will be on Wednesday. Next Wednesday, they'll be talking about star stories. And then next Thursday, we'll be back here doing this presentation. So every week. All these things are on Zoom and will be on Facebook Live. We do record all these things, and they will be on, you can access this session later. You also will be able to see it on the YouTube page, on the Career USA YouTube page. And if you do go to the Career USA YouTube page, please click like. We need to get up to 100 likes so we can get some certain status. I'm not really sure what it is, but it allows me to do some more things that I haven't done. Please note, Career DFW is just a 501c3. We're a nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. We survive on donations. Please consider making a donation when you get your next job. And if your company makes matching donations, we are registered with Benetv. And if your company uses something different, please let us know, because your $25 donation could be $50 because your company will donate with us. So thank you very much for being with us. We will see everybody next Wednesday, or I'm sorry, next Thursday. Next Thursday, we will be back at 1 o'clock. So everybody have a great week. Carol, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great day.